Listen, my friend. Have you ever felt like you were working harder than anyone else, yet still coming up short? You give 60 hours a week. You sacrifice weekends. You hustle until you can barely breathe, only to feel like life is slipping through your fingers. And then you look around, and someone else, who doesn't seem to grind nearly as much, is walking through doors you've been knocking on for years. I need you to hear this. You were never created to beg for crumbs. You were created to carry favor. That means your story is bigger than the hours you clock in or the applause you chase. It means there's a rhythm to your life that no hustle can manufacture. Today, I want to show you how to move from chasing crumbs to carrying bread, from exhausting hustle to living in divine timing. Stay with me. 1. You were never meant to crawl. You were meant to carry favor. Listen, my friend. I need you to hear this. You were never created to beg for crumbs. You were created to carry favor. And I know that might sound bold, maybe even too good to be true. But think about your own life for a second. You wake up before the sun. You clock in long hours. You grind 60 hours a week because that's what culture tells you. Hustle harder, prove yourself, climb faster. And yet, at the end of the month, you're drained. You've checked every box, but deep down, you still feel like it's not enough. Now picture someone else. They don't hustle like you do. They aren't burning out, chasing every opportunity, begging for recognition. And yet, doors just seem to open for them. The right people show up at the right time. Opportunities find them. It almost feels unfair, doesn't it? But what if that difference isn't luck? It's favor. Here's the truth. Hustle culture is built on performance. It whispers, if you work hard enough, maybe you'll finally be worthy. Maybe someone will notice. Maybe you'll earn a seat at the table. But favor says, you already belong. You don't have to perform for value. You were created with it. Favor does something hustle never can. Hustle can get you applause for a season. Favor can open doors, money, or networking never could. Hustle is exhausting. Favor feels like alignment, like you're finally walking in rhythm with something bigger than yourself. But let me clear up some common mistakes, because I know what you might be thinking. Favor doesn't mean life gets easy. Delay is not punishment. If you're in a waiting season right now, it doesn't mean you've been forgotten. It means you're being prepared with precision. And favor is not some shortcut. It doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you learn to put your energy in the right place, to steward what you've been given, instead of burning yourself out on what was never meant for you. And favor is not random luck. It's not a lottery ticket. It's alignment with the identity and purpose you were born for. Let me give you a little lesson here. Delay equals precision. Think about that. The job you didn't get, the relationship that didn't last, the opportunity that didn't pan out. That wasn't rejection, it was redirection. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. That's the difference between hustle and favor. Hustle leaves you empty, always chasing applause that fades as soon as people look away. Favor leaves you steady, walking with peace, knowing you don't have to become a copy of someone else to be valuable. So let me ask you something personal. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, why am I working this hard and still feel empty? What if the problem isn't your effort at all, but the fact that you've been chasing crumbs when you were meant to carry bread? Because you weren't designed to crawl through life begging for scraps of approval or success. You were designed to stand tall, to carry something bigger than you, to walk with a grace that can't be manufactured. And that brings us to something powerful. Maybe the reason you've been waiting, the reason things have felt delayed, isn't because you've been denied. Maybe it's because the timing is divine. Let's talk about that. How waiting isn't wasted, and how heaven funds what it formed. 2. From delay to divine timing. How heaven funds what it formed. Maybe you've been waiting for years, quietly, wondering if you've been forgotten. You see others moving forward, posting their wins, celebrating promotions, launching businesses, and you whisper to yourself, "What about me? Did I miss my turn?" But what if your waiting wasn't a waste? What if it was precision? Think about someone who thought their career was over because momentum slowed down. Maybe they were laid off. Maybe their project fell apart. Maybe their name stopped being called in rooms they once walked into. It felt like failure. But then, in that quiet season, they developed skills they never would have learned otherwise. Patience, resilience, clarity. And years later, when the right opportunity finally came, they didn't just show up ready, they showed up over-prepared. What felt like delay was actually divine preparation. It's kind of like starlight. Did you know the light you see from certain stars tonight might have left that star years ago? It traveled across galaxies, taking its time, but it still reached you. Just because it took years to arrive didn't mean the star wasn't shining. In the same way, your season of silence doesn't mean you're not glowing. It just means the world hasn't caught up to the light God already placed in you. Here's the deeper truth. Income and impact are not the same thing. Income can show up quick, a job, a paycheck, a side hustle. But impact takes time because it requires foundation. Wealth isn't just money. Real wealth is peace plus purpose. Anyone can chase a paycheck. But not everyone is entrusted with legacy. And this is where many of us make mistakes. We confuse delay with being forgotten. We assume if we don't see results right away, God must have overlooked us. Wrong. Delay does not equal denial. Delay means foundation. Or we think wealth is only about money, when in reality, without peace and purpose, money feels empty. Or we chase shortcuts, trying to hack our way forward, only to find ourselves burned out and lost, further from who we really are. Here's the lesson. God funds identity, not performance. Heaven doesn't bankroll who you pretend to be. It invests in who you were created to be. That's why the waiting matters. Because when the blessing comes, it won't crush you. It will rest on you. You'll have the strength to carry it. So let me paint the contrast for you. Hustle says paycheck for labor. Favor says eternal reward for becoming. Hustle says perform for validation. Favor says be entrusted with impact. Which one would you rather have? Now pause with me for a moment. Think back to a time you almost quit, but didn't. That decision to keep going wasn't wasted. It was recorded. That's the receipt heaven is now cashing in. You didn't skip steps. You were being built in silence for a season no one can take from you. So no, your delay wasn't wasted. It was divine timing. And that's why this isn't just your survival season anymore. This is your overflow season. And in a moment, I'll tell you exactly how to step into that overflow with confidence. But first, I want you to breathe this in and say it out loud with me. I receive it.